the chat or the audio, just go for it, okay? Like, if I can't hear you guys, I'm just gonna stop you. What did you say, Sabrina?
Wait, nothing.
Oh, I thought you said, okay. Yeah, so the rule that they gave was if we couldn't hear you for like most of the last 30 seconds, start over. If it's just blippy, you can start where you stopped.
Okay. Should we just start now?
I mean, you still have 3 minutes technically. I don't want to take your time away, but if you're good to go, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm actually gonna adjust. I see notice the CPU starting to use a lot more energy. It's weird.
I mean, yeah, I think I have like a bunch of tabs anyways.
Or maybe that's why. I just didn't know this hasn't happened before. I was like, what's going on? Okay, folks, ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, Mission, you good?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay. Is everybody good? Yeah. Okay. Renegade, our sole contention is a security umbrella. Troop withdrawal will ignite a war in the Middle East in 2 ways. Subpoint A is a regional arms race. Branch 15 of the Foreign Policy Research Institute indicates that U.S. troop presence has historically reassured our allies and limited regional rivalries. Troop withdrawal would not only embolden actors like Iran, but would also force our allies to arm themselves vigorously. Liang Tony of Tufts University explains that American troop presence is the best security guarantee to the Arab Gulf states and Iran. Iran has a substantially larger population, economy, and military than its neighbors, meaning a withdrawal would spur conventional arms race due to the perception of a shifting power balance. Pollock 18 of the National Review confirms that U.S. allies tend to overestimate the Iranian threat because they are much less capable than America, historically taking drastic measures when the U.S. retreats. Saab 18 of the Bulletin finds that U.S. support is crucial to preventing a full-blown arms race, which would lead to a devastating regional conflict. He adds that the short flight times and lethality of newly developed missiles would make escalation very likely. Beaumont 15 of The Guardian explains that a lack of interest in arms control and the existence of multiple conflicts intensifies the consequences of an arms race. Brands 15 continues that withdrawing U.S. presence will also cause American allies to nuclearize. However, Horshig 19 of The Conversation explains that Israel's Begin Doctrine states that it will use preemptive attacks against any emerging nuclear power in the region, causing Biden 08 of the U.S. Senate to conclude that Israel would perceive an existential threat and strike the program. However, this would likely be seen as an attack on the Jewish state by the Islamic Holy Land and trigger a region-wide conflict in the Middle East. Subpoint B is Iranian expansionism. Without U.S. protection, Israel feels as if they must take matters into their own hands. Horowitz 19 of the Times of Israel finds that Israeli leaders worry that Trump's inaction in the Middle East will encourage Iran to spread their regional hegemony. Indeed, the prime minister views Iranian expansionism as an existential threat and has constantly argued that Iran wants Israel off the map. Adisnik 19 of the FCD explains that U.S. presence in Iraq blocks an Iranian land bridge that accelerates Iranian weapon shipments. Historically, withdrawals have created the perception that the U.S. is abandoning this deterrent stance, scaring Israel. Kraft 19 of CS Monitor explains that this Iranian land bridge is one of Israel's long-standing fears, as it would place Iranian forces on Israel's border absent U.S. Intervention, forcing Israel to respond militarily. For this reason, Caspit 20 of Al Monitor confirms that just the threat of a U.S. withdrawal from Iraq set off all alarm bells in Israel, proving that an actual troop pullout would be Israel's nightmare scenario. Ehrenheim 20 of the Jerusalem Post confirms that should the U.S. pull out, a war between Israel and Iran would become inevitable. Oren 19 of The Atlantic writes that an Israel-Iran war would likely start conventionally using artillery forces and conventional missiles. Oren continues that this exchange would likely displace millions in the region, as Korsman 07 of the CSIS writes that once the conflict escalates beyond an initial strike, it would quickly become existential, causing both sides to inflict the maximum possible damage. In such a case, 28 million people would die within 21 days. The impact to any of these scenarios is a Middle Eastern war. Mali 19 of Foreign Affairs explains that because of long-standing rivalries, overlapping interests, and a lack of diplomatic channels, any development anywhere in the region can have ripple effects, making it impossible to prevent a war from spreading regionally. Historically, Al Jazeera 03 finds that Arab-Israeli wars have killed 200,000 people, but technological advancement means a war would likely be more deadly now. Luckily, Mali finds that a regional conflict is not inevitable, but a significant change like a true pullout would spark the fire. Hill 20 of Newsweek furthers that war would likely disrupt oil supply in the region, spiking prices and sending us into a global recession. The Borgen Project 13 concludes that this would push 900 million people into poverty. For all these reasons, we negate.
Okay, is everyone good? Okay, great. We affirm contention 1 is Bahrain. Jones 11 finds the massive American naval base provides legitimacy for the autocratic Bahraini regime and their extreme, frequently violent measures to destroy the country's political opposition. This is because Hassan 11 finds the Sunni-led Bahrain is a strategic ally to the U.S., a counterweight to Shia-led Iran. Unfortunately, by propping up this government, Jones finds the island's Shia majority is paying the heaviest price. As a result of practices directly enabled by U.S. presence, he finds Bahrain has become a scene of terrible suffering. The World Report 20 continues that the human rights situation continues to be dire to the present day, with the government executing prisoners without due process, arresting and convicting human rights defenders and opposition leaders, as well as failing to credibly investigate and prosecute officials and police officers who committed violations. If you want to stop this government oppression, you vote AF to stop the legitimization. Contention 2 is Iranian aggression. Hannah 19 writes the fact Iran has recently undertaken scores of attacks against U.S. interests with newfound boldness suggests U.S. deterrence is badly faltering. Instead, U.S. military presence increases Iranian aggression in 2 ways. First is threat perception. Barzagar 10 explains the growth of active U.S. military presence and the role in Iran's immediate borders, combined with the long-term strategy of establishing military bases in and around the neighborhood, is perceived by Iran as a national security threat. Crucially, Iran responds to the threat with aggression. Swan 19 writes that Tehran's aggressive moves, reportedly planning attacks on U.S. diplomatic facilities in Iraq and loading missiles on fishing boats in the Gulf, appear to be in response to Washington's aggressive steps. Swan concludes they're lashing out and some of the threats are very concerning. Indeed, Nayhouse 19 writes that Iran's support for proxy militias militias does not come from its revolutionary zeal, religious fanaticism, or dreams of territorial expansion, but rather a systemic insecurity the leadership in Tehran is acutely aware of. Second is empowering hardliners. During the Obama administration, in which troops were withdrawn from Iraq and talks with Iran had begun, reformist politicians like President Rouhani took power and consequently Iranian aggression decreased. Redeployment and military pressure reversed this trend. Tabar 19 explains that U.S. military presence has intensified anxieties about national security in the Republic. This will further boost the Revolutionary Guard's influence over foreign policy. There's less and less popular and elite opposition to Iran's claim that if the Revolutionary Guards did not fight enemies abroad, they would be fighting them in Tehran. Crucially, a more peaceful posture could change Iranian leadership. Vaughn 20 finds diplomatic engagement with Iran's moderate elements, undermines conservative hardliners, and fosters liberalizing reforms, and catalyzes profoundly transformational changes, including a decrease of violence throughout the region. Thus, for these two reasons, absent U.S. military presence, Iran would cease their aggression in the Middle East. Empirics prove this true. Vaughn concludes Iran-directed attacks against U.S. interests in the Middle East ended immediately after U.S. troops departed Iraq in 2011. And conversely, Dosher 19 concludes that after the U.S. decided to increase its troop presence, Iran shot down a U.S. drone in response. Curbing Iranian aggression is the most important goal in the Middle East. Quadrat 20 writes, Iran's proxy in Yemen engaged in a civil war that has resulted in one of the worst humanitarian catastrophes in modern history. They turn Hamas and Hezbollah on and off like a light switch and are a key participant in Syria's conflict. Overall, they're responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians. Crucially, absent U.S. involvement, diplomacy would follow. Al Jazeera 20 finds Iran is open to resolving differences with its Gulf rivals Saudi Arabia and the UAE as quickly as possible. The regime has also welcomed efforts to resolve issues either from inside Iraq or any other country in the region. Unfortunately, Barziger 18 explains that Iran's foreign policy is to balance between deterrence and cooperation, but exacerbated U.S. military threats forced to shift to deterrence because Vase 19 finds Iran feels compelled to prove to U.S. policymakers they aren't acquiescent to U.S. pressure reducing regional cooperation. That's why Kinush 20 finds that if the U.S. remains a part of regional negotiations, it will be impossible for these countries to resolve their differences. On their case, start with an overview. Ulrichson 20 explains that the U.S. in the Gulf is a barrier preventing alternative collective security arrangement. Luckily, voting AF would allow China, India, Japan, and other countries to fill in, sparking a massive diversification of security agreements. This matters for two reasons. First, to stabilize the region, as Ulrichson furthers, these replacements would not pick sides in regional conflicts the way the U.S. has, instead work towards regional cooperation by bridging divides. Second, it takes out my opponent's case because the arms race is like they have the security guarantee and Iran won't expand because they don't take sides.
Okay, before cross starts, just real quick. Does anyone need any clarifications? Did everyone hear everything? You good? Okay. I just don't want to take cross time for that. So okay, go for it.
We could actually get some cards before cross.
Yeah, definitely.
Can I get that, like, whatever your evidence was about, like, the troop withdrawal in 2011? And then the link card for the Bahrain argument that, like, it's U.S. troops that are, like, making it legitimate. And then that they're open to resolving differences. Al Jazeera, I think.
Do you just want cut cards?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can send the email, Aish.
Okay, bet.
Bahrain card was okay. Give me 1 second. Okay. So this is the. I'm gonna just send 2 cards now. I'll get the third one while you're reading this. So the first one is the Bahrain evidence. The second one is the disengagement. I'll send one more. What's the third one you wanted?
On the Al Jazeera card, and y'all can just start cross when you send them all to me.
Wait, I don't think. Can we take a little bit of prep before cross?
Yeah, sure. I'm just gonna send this third card.
Yeah.
All right. You should have all of them. Just let me know. And we're gonna start prep once the phone call goes.
Just mute yourself on here.
Yeah, don't worry. 1 second.
All right, that was like 10 seconds.
Hello? Okay.
Ye-
Let me pull up a timer. Oh, so what's the terminal impact on your Iran contention?
On Iran?
Yeah.
They're fueling conflicts in Yemen, they're controlling terror groups, and they're fueling the Syrian conflict. But I think like
So,
it
like,
probably
all
links
those
into your
conflicts
impacts
stop?
too. What and leads to hundreds of thousands of deaths. Sorry.
Okay, sure. Like hundreds of, okay, yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Wait, who's nuclearizing in like your argument?
We say it's like everybody.
Everyone? So okay.
Yeah, in the
Wait.
Middle East.
Wait, does your card say everyone in the Middle East is going to nuclearize? I'd love to see that.
Not specifically.
Okay, so
but
who does it say?
I can check for you right now.
Okay, great.
Okay.
You can just you can send it after. That's fine.
Okay. Okay, let's talk about hardliners. So just because
Sure.
the US pulls out, why would hardliners like leave?
No,
Can
no,
you
no. That's
explain,
not the argument. So it's the people who elect them into power. And
Yeah.
once the US pulls out, the people are less likely to think the US is like the enemy or whatever, right? And then
Wait, but
they elect
why?
the moderate people, the moderate like politicians into power.
Wait, but wouldn't it be that the people view that the hardliner strategy worked, so they vote them in power again because Rouhani was clearly not able to solve the conflict?
Wait, no. So who's in power right now? Rouhani, right? And
No, the
if the US
hardliners.
leaves,
I
no,
thought
no,
you said that
no.
the hardliners are gaining power right now.
Yeah, they're gaining power, but like right now, still Rouhani has power, right?
But
And we're
if
saying
Rouhani's
the
a
longer the
moderate,
U.S.
then
presence, the longer the U.S. presence is there, the more risk there is for hardliners to like get like a majority and like take control.
so let me get this straight. Hardliners are not in power now. It's only a possible risk that they may enter power sometime in the future.
I mean,
That's the reason we should
Tabar's pretty explicit. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure.
All right, cool. Let's talk about arms race, right?
Yeah.
Wait, so who's like what's the conflict scenario of this? It's just the Israel thing and the nuclearization, right?
Yeah, we're saying so it's like two links into the same impact. So we're saying that the arms race significantly increases the likelihood of war, and that links into our like impact that
Wait,
wrote at the end.
why does it increase the likelihood of war?
Well, if there's like just a bunch of arms, and then that like people are building up, and then in the Middle East specifically, there aren't people that are willing to like control the arms race. The
Oh, so
likelihood
you need to prove intent.
No, it's not like, oh, I will attack you with a nuke. Like that's not how it
Wait.
works,
So like
right? Like
just because I'm building arms doesn't mean I'm just gonna go into conflict. Like if anything,
Yeah, I
probably
know. I'm saying
building arms probably increases the price of the conflict, so
No.
it's less incentivized to go into it in the first place.
Sure, you
Like-
can make that analysis,
like,
but I'm
there
saying
needs to
the
be
existence. Can I talk?
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
saying that the existence of conflicts in the Middle East is where they would use the weapons, right? Because like if I'm in a proxy war with Iran and I suddenly build up my arms, it's not like I'm gonna launch a random attack on Iran. I'm already in conflict with them.
Wait, but that's not
And
the
the
impact
likelihood
you
that
read.
they would use.
That's just like random. Like that's like not
Yeah.
red and K. So
No,
so
I
your
say
impact
that
is like
I
separate.
say that it increases the lethality of war as well.
Oh, so like what does that lead to?
Like it's
what's
a
the
general.
result of that?
Well,
So
okay,
there's-
so like
you can't like it's like an
So
uncontextualized.
it also links into like the same impact that you read because you're saying like Iran is committing all these atrocities. So I'm saying like in the conflicts with the other countries.
Wait,
that,
you need to prove intent.
conventional
Like
arms race.
that's what I'm trying to get at. But that's time.
Okay.
Okay.
Wait,
Sabrina,
can we also
Oh yeah.
can we also see that card?
Wait, Sabrina, can you send?
Okay, I just sent it. So yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna run prep. Sabrina, unmute yourself on the call. Wait, where's the card about like in 2011, like when we pulled out troops, like something happened?
Sorry, what was that?
The card, your empiric about when we pulled out of Iraq.
Oh yeah. I think is it in the email chain?
Wait, when we pull out of Iraq?
Yeah. It's Oh, you sent the wrong one, I think.
Oh, did I? Sorry.
Yeah. We said it twice. Sorry.
Oh yeah. Sorry, this was the wrong card. My bad.
I can send it in.
Cool. Yeah. This. Yeah.
All right, I just sent it.
Wait, Sabrina, did you get it yet? Oh, no, I got it. Okay, we'll continue running prep. Okay, I'm good. So that's 1:30 for us. Wait, have y'all used prep yet? I don't remember.
I think we took 10 seconds before
At
cross.
the beginning. Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. So it's just gonna be down their case and then onto the overview or whatever.
Sounds good.
Okay. So is anyone not ready? Okay. On Bahrain, first, I would argue they would probably still commit these human rights violations without us. Their only link is like the U.S. condemning them, but when has U.S. condemning someone for human rights violations ever worked? But second, realize the U.S. would probably not condemn them because the U.S. has already committed so many human rights violations itself. For example, it's like literally like held people at the border, or it's like Trump like does not care about human rights violations. Go to the second contention about Iranian aggression. They have no terminal impact here. The only one that can really terminalize this idea that like there's gonna be like this Yemen war thing, but all Karimi 16 finds the Saudi Arabia will never stop fighting because it sees the Houthis as a security threat. threat and its Iranian expansion. Thus, any ceasefires have only been excuses for them to regroup their forces rather than to actually stop fighting, which is why the past 6 ceasefires have failed and why strikes began again after decreasing by 80%. Similarly, the December ceasefire that they talk about failed because Rydell 20 explains that Saudi Arabia is unwilling to take the old Yemen government out of exile, showing they're never serious about talks. Insofar as the war is never going to stop, Posenball 15 writes that the U.S. sends military advisors to Saudi Arabia to gather intelligence and identify no strike zones that the Saudis should avoid in order to prevent civilian casualties. And Rogan 18 continues that American guidance has helped the Saudis target Houthi formations rather than entire city blocks, and without guidance from the U.S. troops, the Saudis are likely to kill thousands more civilians if it believes that might win them the war. But then, second, even if you do buy that the Saudis will stop airstrikes, Wintour 19 reports that the Houthis were breaching the most important parts of the ceasefire that they talk about in places like the port of Hodeidah, which means it turns case because even if Saudi airstrikes decrease, the Houthi attacks do not, and they continue to expand. But a Houthi takeover is really bad because first is aid. Yemen is suffering from a famine, but the U.S. News 19 finds that the Houthis stole 60% of the aid sent to the region, using to defeat its own troops instead. And we're just going to leave it there. Let's go back to the first contention. Brands 15 finds that if we pull out of the region, we're going to have to support our dictatorship governments more directly because we still have interest in the region. So we're going to funnel aid directly to the governments, which actually entrenches them in power. Go to the second contention. First, Gardner 19 writes that Iran wants the U.S. out of the region so it can become the hegemon. Even if it's on the defensive right now, pulling the U.S. out changes its decision calculus and it jumps on the opportunity to expand. This is especially true because hardliners are getting power right now, meaning you prioritize new empirics. And that allowed the nation finds when Obama withdrew from Iraq in 2011, Iran and its proxies became stronger, instability increased, even though attacks against U.S. targets did not increase, attacks against regional targets did increase. But second, Salome 20 finds that as the domestic economy instability is getting recently worse in Iran, the government wants to distract from its problems with an aggressive foreign policy, which is why we need to keep troops there to stop expansion. And there were empirics from before don't matter now. But then third, there's no reversal mechanism because even if the U.S. started the rivalry, Iran is still going to hate Israel and Saudi Arabia after the withdrawal. But the Crisis Group 17 explains that Iran fears Israel and Saudi Arabia, who spend way more on the military than it does. So it has to resort to asymmetric deterrence to feel safe, which they call defending forward and funding proxies. But their deterrent stance scares Saudi Arabia and Israel, who view it as offensive, meaning that like the cycle of escalation is still going to happen without the U.S. The only chance to stop it is actually by like having the U.S. in the region to like deter it. But then go to this idea about like diplomacy. Realize the only reason why they're open to diplomacy now is because they're being pressured by the U.S. That's why uniquely right now you see diplomacy happening. When you lift it, the opposite happens. That's why in 2011 when we left, like you saw it explode. But then there's a few reasons why pulling out does not cause diplomacy. First is because like the U.S. allies would perceive the Iranian threat to increase, which caused them to immediately overreact and become aggressive. That's why Polak from case finds when the U.S. security guarantee was decreased, Saudi Arabia invaded Yemen, Turkey invaded Syria and Iraq, and a lot of other bad things happened, which shows that even if like Iran, for example, decreases aggression, like our allies are going to become aggressive and force Iran to engage. But then second, realize just across by the thing about how Iran will see it as an opportunity to expand, especially because Iran wants the US out of the region and it'll change the decision calculus. But then second, because right now the domestic economy is doing bad, so it wants to distract from it. But then C, realize the hardliners in both Saudi Arabia and Iran are gaining power, so they'll keep the rivalry going and prevent moderates from getting influence. But then go to the hardliners argument. Realize that if the U.S. backs down while hardliners are in power, it only empowers them. In fact, Ghost 20 finds that Trump's maximum pressure campaign right now has already put hardliners in power. Rouhani has already lost power. He's basically a figurehead now. They've literally been rigging the election. So that means even if we pull out, like hardliners don't lose power because Turek 20 finds that less and less people are turning out to vote, and the hardline government's literally rigging the elections. Go to their overview. First, realize they assume that actors are not going to take sides in conflict, but this is pretty untrue. Actors will always take sides. And then second, they need to give a time frame as to when this villain happens because both are things trigger, like both the arguments trigger immediately, even before negotiations happen. So obviously no one wants to negotiate. And then finally, they don't prove why this negotiation is good enough to engage the actors. The actors are going to hate each other. They're not going to accept any kind of negotiations.
Can we see Iran hardliners gaining influence? And the one about, oh yeah, actually that card for now.
I'm also gonna call for two more. Can I see that after we left in 2011, Iran's proxies increased attacks overall? And then the Pollock evidence that's like U.S. allies force Iran to engage or something.
Sabrina, can you get a 2011 card?
Yeah.
I'm getting the forces Iran to engage, and then the okay, I just sent two of them. Let me know if you got them. So I sent the forces Iran to engage, and then the hardline is already in power. And then what's the fourth one?
Wait, I
it
only
was-
got one as well in the email that you just sent.
No, it's
I
fine. I
sent it
think.
as 2 images.
Oh, yeah, here. Okay, I got him.
Oh yeah, second email. Yeah, okay.
What was the other one we called for?
Wait.
Oh,
what are the?
Do you have the
two-
one? Do you have the one where it's like attacks were increasing on their proxies after 2011?
Yeah.
Oh wait,
I think that's the Oh, okay.
It's the Alalden one.
My bad. Let me see.
I got it actually. Did y'all just want 3 or was it? I think there was a 4th one.
I think that's it for cards that we're calling, and then
Okay.
we'll run prep after.
Just sent it.
Okay.
Okay. Wait, we'll run.
All right. Yeah. As soon as you call me. All right. That was like 2.
Like 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So the order is just going to be my case, then the overview on their case. Is everyone ready? Okay, cool. So if everyone's ready, we'll start the time. Now, go to our first contention. We'll concede that the problems are non-unique. That gets us out of the turn from brands. Go to our second contention about Iran. They first said that we have no terminal impact. We read a bunch. So Quadra says that Iran's proxies fuel the Yemen war, but also control terror groups like Hamas and Hezbollah, and also the Syrian conflict. So all their Yemen responses don't really matter. But then we also say they increase diplomacy. I'll get to the responses when we get there. Then they give this huge thing about the Houthis. First of all, that's not our only impact. We also read a bunch of other ones from the Quadra evidence. B, we say the only reason the Houthis are expanding is because of anti-US sentiment. So we said that when the US gets out of the region, they're going to diplomacy. But third, we say that like the Houthis are expanding no matter what because they're always emboldened. So this is going to be pretty non-unique either way. Then going to the next response, they give a couple of reasons why Iran's going to expand no matter what. First of all, they say after 2011, Iran's proxies fueled more attacks. Their card does not say that. First of all, I would say that insofar as the United States literally signed the nuclear deal as a result of negotiations from withdrawing from Iran, I would say the uniqueness is on our side for negotiations. Then they give a bunch of other reasons. We would say our NIHOS evidence from case switches conceded spice all of these. It says that Iran's support for these proxies does not come from any of the revolutionary zeal or the religious stuff or request for territory or to quell its people. It comes from the systemic insecurity that the U.S. creates, which is the link that they completely drop. Then they say that Iran's always going to hate Israel and Saudi Arabia and they're defending forward. Our Barsier evidence from case explains that their foreign policy is to balance between deterrence and cooperation, but U.S. military presence uniquely shifts them towards deterrence instead of cooperation. So we can reverse this when the U.S. gets out of the region. Then they say that on hardliners that there's going to be no power right now. We would say that A, Rouhani got elected, but B, their card does not say anything that they say it does about the hardliners being elected. Then on the bottom about diplomacy, our evidence is pretty good that says that Iran, the only reason why they're not negotiating right now is that the United States is there. We say that our uniqueness is on our side from the Iran nuclear deal. Then the other two responses are just cross-ups of the other responses. Go to the overview on their case. So they first say that actors are always going to take sides. No, our evidence is very explicit that these actors that are coming in are not going to take sides. Unlike the United States, you can call up the evidence is really good. Then they say that there's time frame. No, I would argue that the time frame does not matter because we're deterring conflict from happening in the first place, which means that they need to prove a time frame for their conflict happening too. It's immediate. It's as soon as we withdraw, Iran's automatically going to attack. Then they say that actors are going to hate each other. No, because we say that it's external actors like China, India, Japan, and others to fill in a mass diversification of security agreements. That's what creates the issue that we talked about. Then this overview actually short circuits their entire case because recognize that if we are deterring conflict right now, then there's not going to be any need for this arms race to ever matter because we're deterring conflict happening in the first place, meaning that we're short circuiting every single link to their case because we say that it's going to not pick sides and they're going to work towards regional cooperation and Israel's not going to be able to do anything as a result. Go on to their first subpoint about arms race. But first of all, you turn it. Ashford 18 finds that U.S. military presence has caused Gulf nations to neglect security concerns because they feel the U.S. is protecting them. Absent this presence, they would be forced to cooperate on GCC joint military infrastructure, which is why Obama's temporary pivot resulted in more regional alliances. He referred this because they know more about the situation, which is why Velasco 19 finds that the regional organizations are 3.5 times more likely to a durable peace. Then, secondly, Lustig 20 finds that military aid that the U.S. has provided to Israel has emboldened Israeli governments to refuse constructive negotiations with the Palestinians and increase tensions with Iran, which increases the chance of war. But then, if we win our case, we win our link. Their own Ehrenheim evidence, which is the second link to the Iran conflict, literally says that Israel's only going to attack if Iran keeps expanding. And the Saab evidence also says the exact same thing. That this arms race only happens if Iran continues to expand. But then third, Abashi 19 finds that these hardliner Orthodox leaders of Israel are going to get replaced with liberal leaders for two reasons. First is an influx of younger progressives, and second, criminal charges are being placed on Netanyahu, so the U.S. doesn't need to appease these hardliners anymore. But Biner finally says that behind all the rhetoric, Israel does not view Iran as an existential threat, which is why they have not attacked right now. Going to Iran a couple of turns. First, Hamid Adin 13 finds that American military presence makes it expected that allies of the U.S. go against Iran and actually seek to damage its interests, meaning Sadlov 19 concludes that it fuels aggressive and destabilizing policies even though they favor negotiations. Reducing presence reduces these incentives because Parsi finds that withdrawal reduces ally strikes by 80%. Then on the impact. First of all, on arms races, we would say, if anything, arms races increase the cost of conflict, meaning that they're not going to happen. B, they're talking about an oil supply pushing 900 million people into poverty. Oil prices are really low right now, and the evidence at the bottom literally doesn't say anything about oil at all.
Okay.
Can I see the younger progressive thingy?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I can send it.
Oh, do you have it? All right, bet.
You can also see whatever the Palestine military aid increasing tensions was.
Mm-hmm.
And also Barner, that Israel doesn't think that Iran's an existential threat.
Yeah. Wait, what was the first card? Sorry,
The how younger progressives are gaining power now.
Oh yeah, sure. Wait, no. We never said that in our speech. We never said they're gaining power. We just say they have power.
Or just be
it's just saying Rouhani is in power. Yeah, that's what the response was.
Wait, no, the Israel one, right? Oh wait, were you talking about Iran?
Oh yeah. So, sorry, no, I was confused. Yeah, Israel, we have evidence for it. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh wait, hold on. What was the other piece of evidence you called for?
Me or
I think it was the military aid increases tensions.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait, which evidence are you finding?
It's Lustig, I think. All right, yeah, I'm just sending it right now. Did you get it?
Wait, I'm like refreshing it right now.
All right, I think it just sent.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. 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 I'm ready for cross.
All right, sure. You can take first question.
Okay. So you basically say that like Israel does not view Iran as an existential threat. What's the warrant?
Okay, so we say that it's all rhetoric, and that like if Israel truly would viewed Iran as an existential threat, then from the period that the U.S. withdrew to the period that the U.S. came back, there would have been some sort of major regional war, like you talk about.
No, but
Last
like,
question.
what's the warrant for why it's not an existential threat? Because Iran has threatened multiple times to wipe Israel off the planet.
Hold on. So we say that they're A, dependent on the region for oil, and B, like they probably see like it's a major conflict. Like they probably don't want to be in a major conflict.
Wait, how is that a warrant?
Like the warrant, like the first warrant makes sense. Like they're dependent on the region for oil, but
So
also
you're not existentially scared of Iran.
I mean, what's your warrant for why they are existentially scared of Iran? Is it just like
because Iran has threatened multiple times to literally wipe Israel off the planet, and they've been
have they like I feel like in that time frame, then we should have already gone to war because the U.S. wasn't there from 2011.
No, the land bridge was only recent because they only started building the land bridge recently, which is why Netanyahu only started worrying about it recently, and that was after 2011 when troops were.
When was this land bridge thing like when did this land bridge become a problem?
I think it was over the past few years, like 2017.
Okay, so we weren't there from 2017 to like 2018.
Like we're saying the threat has been growing over the years, but presence has also been growing over the years or over the last few years to compensate for that, which is why Israel has been fine with it. And it's like all a perception argument, which is why like when they thought we were pulling out of Iraq, literally the alarm bell started ringing in the entire defense sector of the government because everyone knew Iran is an existential threat, and that's going to happen if we pull out of Iraq.
But your own link evidence only says that it's an existential threat if Iran continues to expand. So if we talk about your arms race thing, right? So I'm just gonna ask this question again. Like, which specific actors in the region are going to start getting arms?
Like all of them, like all of the U.S.
So does every single Middle Eastern country have the capability to get a nuclear arm?
Not necessarily, but I would say they would redirect more of the money towards military spending versus social spending.
I mean, is there a warrant as to why that's true? Like, we would say that the only reason why this is even a thing in the first place is because the U.S. is there. But yeah.
Yeah, because like the Polar card says specifically, like when the U.S. decreases security guarantee to the region, our allies basically freak out, and that's what caused Saudi Arabia to invade Yemen. That's what caused Turkey to invade Iraq and Syria. Can I have a question? By the way, I'm not timing, so just let me know when we.
Yeah, we have like 10 seconds left.
Oh, okay. So you talk about how like this diplomatic engagement right now. So like if the U.S. is like aggressive, then why would Iran want to engage? Don't they have wouldn't hardliners be empowered?
That's why we say when you affirm, you get rid of the like aggressive stuff. That's the time though.
Okay, that's fine. And we'll just run prep. Wait, could y'all send like the Ehrenheim indite?
Yeah. Give me one.
All right, hello, you need it.
Wait, nothing. Give me a minute. I'm trying to find the Ehrenheim indite.
Wait, just pick up. Just pick up.
I mean, I need to find the. Okay. Bro,
Yeah, wait, did you send it?
Yeah, I haven't gotten the card yet.
Oh, okay, cool. I can just send it.
oh, you have it? Okay. I was just sending it, but
Oh, yeah, then you can send it if you already haven't,
no, I don't have it. I'm just looking for it on the card stock.
Alright, cool.
Bro, my computer is like just being very slow. If you have it, then send it.
Yeah, I just did.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so now we'll take prep.
Okay, we took like a minute 15. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Yeah, sounds right.
Okay, so the order is going to be on your case, and then I'll go to my case. I'll just signpost as I go. Is everybody good?
Yep.
Okay. My time will now. They concede in their rebuttal that the Houthis always have an incentive to expand, that it's really important because it links literally into our turn that says that Saudi Arabia is always going to want to enter Yemen to attack the war. This acts as separate offense for ours because as long as the U.S. is in the region, where Rogan 18 continues that as American guidance has helped these Saudis moderate the amount of civilian lives they kill. If anything, this serves as separate offense at them. They don't respond to it in the rebuttal. Don't let them respond to it later. Okay, now going on to the fact that they say like, oh, Iran wanted negotiations and how like Rouhani got elected. They dropped the gauche analysis that Serena says is that the idea of Trump's maximum pressure campaign has already put hardliners in power and they're going to stay in power because one, they're rigging elections, and two, people are no longer coming out to vote. Rouhani at this point is literally a powerhead because you see Iran taking a more aggressive policy in the status quo. That's literally what's happening now. As long as, even if Rouhani's in power, that doesn't mean that like negotiations are suddenly going to happen. And then they also dropped the analysis that Serena makes, which Solomon at 20 finds, is that as the domestic economy instability in Iran is getting worse, the government wants to distract from its problems with an aggressive foreign policy. They literally don't respond to this. Don't let them respond to this now. And on negotiations, they don't respond to what Serena tells you is that negotiations are only happening right now if they are with like some like one co-opt examples because the U.S. is forcing them into a position that they have to. That's really important because if the U.S. pulls out, Iran changes their decision-making calculus, so they're going to want to expand after. Now going on to our case. At the top, we can see the defense about how the impact disproves the link on our turn. Okay, then they go on specifically to Iran expansion. Oh, actually go on to the overview about China fill-in and stuff. They said that they don't have to prove a time frame. That's really problematic because they do. At the point where China and Japan and all these countries could take years to fully fill in, Israel's still going to perceive a threat of a Iranian expansionism. They're still going to preemptively strike. Our impact happens the moment you vote for a resolution. Okay, so now onto the Iranian expansionism, they first say that younger progressive people are like gaining more power. That doesn't matter because when you affirm now, Netanyahu's still in power. He's still going to launch a strike. He's like a really hardliner policy. And then they say that it's not existential to Israel. This literally makes no sense because there's no warrant to it. At the point where Iran has said that they want to wipe Israel off the map, I would say that's a pretty existential threat for Israel. And then they say that, wait, what did they say? Okay, they say that they try to indict our Ehrenheim card, but the Ehrenheim card says that should the U.S. withdraw, then Israel would find themselves even in the war. So as long as Iran is continuing expansion now, it doesn't matter because the U.S. acts as the only mediating influence in the region. That's Israel's own perception. Now going on, we can extend. What Adisnik 19 explains is that troops in Iraq blocks an Iranian land bridge specifically that accelerates Iranian weapon shipments. Kraft 19 says that allowing the land bridge to be built with force is Israel to respond militarily, and Ehrenheim 20 confirms that should the U.S. pull out, a war between Israel and Iran would become inevitable. Kurtzman 07 writes that this would kill 28 million people. That's really important because we don't actually have to win the link that Iran expands. As long as Israel perceives a threat, which they have been for the past decade, then they still will attack, and that's what triggers our link. It's really clear strength of link.
All right, we're gonna take some prep.
Wait, do you have evidence for the perception stuff?
Like the land bridge stuff or whatever.
No. Like the stuff that you
just-
only need to win perception. Like Israel like perceives the threat.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. I sent the existential threat one.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
We'll run prep after we just see this.
Wait, are you running prep now?
Yeah, we're just starting. I'm just gonna call him right now. Yeah. Okay. 1 second. Just going through. Okay, we have like 15 seconds left. Order will just be their case, then our case. Is anyone not good? Okay, great. Let's start with the Ulverson overview. They put one response. They say it's going to take a long time frame. No, first of all, no, it doesn't. Fill-in is immediate. They already have some influence in the school. As soon as the U.S. goes away, all these other countries will be able to expand their already existing influence to a greater extent. But second, and lead to a diversification of security agreements, which solves for all conflict in the long term, which short circuits the Israel impact, because Israel will know that, first of all, Iran it won't expand, meaning like Israel will have the perception that these other countries like have its back, and like it's not going to actually lead to the strike. And more importantly, it also like solves for the arms race and like all the conflict off that, because there's going to be no conflict after the diversification of agreements. Also, I would tell you their Ehrenheim evidence tells you Israel only strikes when Iran expands. It literally says that like word for word. At that point, Iran expansion needs to go through like a bunch of countries to actually get to Israel, so it's going to take at least some amount of time. So we would say Ulverson definitely solves back further impacts. Then they drop a turn. Lustig tells you that military aid that the U.S. has provided to Israel has emboldened the Israeli government to refuse constructive negotiations and increase tensions with Iran. Israel wants to negotiate, and the thing that's preventing them from doing so is the U.S., because the military aid is forcing them to not do it. That's really important, because we're controlling a better link into their impact, because Israel right now does not want to go to war with Iran. Instead, they want to negotiate. That's conceded defense and a turn for us. Also, they concede a second turn. Remember, Ashford tells you the U.S. military presence has caused the Gulf states to actually neglect security concerns, and absent U.S. presence, they then cooperate on joint military infrastructure, meaning like Saudi Arabia and regional alliances between Saudi Arabia and Israel actually grow. That means the perception war doesn't matter at this point, because Israel will think like all the other Gulf states now have their back too, so they're not going to go in for the strike. In fact, Velasco tells you that these regional organizations, this regional cooperation, these alliances are more likely to solve for conflict. They're 3.5 times more likely to create durable peace in the next 5 years. Let's go to their case. Let's go to our case. They start with their responses. They say hardliners are still in power. No, Rouhani is president. He's in power. The hardliners, they don't even have evidence saying hardliners gaining influence in these schools. Second, I would tell you, and then on their independent offense on like Saudi Arabia. First, the war is caused by proxies fueled through Iran. If we prove the Iran stops the incentive to aggress, then we win this round, and there's no conflict anymore, meaning we solve better than they do. But we actually solve for the conflict. They just like mitigate it. But then on the diplomacy thing, they say U.S. pressure creates diplomacy. No, the uniqueness is terrible. There's literally no negotiations in the school. There's no way that they can win off this. Let's go to our case. First link about threat perception. Remember, Hannah tells you Barziger tells you U.S. military presence is perceived by Iran as a national security threat. Swan tells you they respond to the threats with aggression, already attacking U.S. diplomatic facilities as well as boats on the Gulf. Nahals tells you Iran's support for proxies does not come from revolutionary zeal, religious fanaticism, or request for territory. Rather, the systemic insecurity the U.S. creates. This is really bad for them, because they concede Vaughn. When the U.S. literally withdrew in 2011, Iran stopped attacking. Uniqueness controls the direction of the link. You know our root cause is true. That means we gain 100% access into our impact. That's really bad for them, because Quadrat tells you they fuel these proxies and it control terrorist groups like Hamas and Hezbollah, fueling the Yemen war. And more importantly, they also control the internal link to Israel, because Ehrenheim only says Israel strikes if Iran expands. If we prove Iran stops aggressing and stops expanding, we win Israel better than they do.
Okay, ready for cross?
Yeah.
Okay, so your partner says in rebuttal that no matter what, whether Iran continues to fund the Houthis or not, they're still going to expand and attack. Doesn't
Yeah,
this
yeah,
just
no,
like
no, no.
co-opt your own response?
No, that wasn't my analysis there.
No, that was
so-
his analysis in his
No, no,
rebuttal.
Wait, hold on. What?
You said in your rebuttal that no matter what, the Houthis are still going to expand, whether or not Iran funds them. So
No, my analysis was that if Iran expands, then the Houthis expand.
Yeah.
So if Iran doesn't expand, then the Houthis just go away.
No,
I mean, we say that
Iran's
the
fueling these proxy groups. So if they're less aggressive, then there's less likely to be these proxy conflicts.
Yeah, that was my analysis. Sorry if that wasn't clear, but
and like regardless, like even if that's like not true, there's probably like no impact off this, like anyways.
There's no impact off of the Yemen war.
no,
Yeah,
but
you
you just say that
don't read an
no,
impact.
the impact that
Yeah.
you're reading off it is like they're striking like the no strike zones, but you don't tell me like what actual like impact that has.
Yeah, there's like it's not
Okay.
contextualized at all. Yeah.
All right, do you want a question?
Yeah, sure. Wait, actually, you can take one. I don't
Okay.
really have one.
So you said that Rouhani has gotten elected, and that's why that negotiations would happen. But
So
No,
at the
wait,
point
we're
where
not-
Iran
we're
is
not going
already
for-
taking an aggressive stance, doesn't that mean that hardliners are already in power and will stay in power?
No, just because they're taking an aggressive stance doesn't mean hardliners are in power. So right now, let's look at the facts, right? Rouhani is the one in power, he's a moderate. The reason why the moderates are taking an aggressive stance is because of US presence. That's their entire threat perception argument. That's like
Wait. Okay, no. Okay, so we have different evidence that you have evidence saying that Rouhani is in power, and we have evidence saying that hardliners are in power. We're saying
Wait.
that
When I
Rouhani
asked for the evidence, you like never like the evidence you sent like doesn't say that.
that hardliners are in power.
No, like the evidence like I asked you to send and you sent it doesn't say that.
Then what does it say then?
Yeah.
wait, hold on. Wait, which evidence is it? Because
The
Wait,
ghost
yeah.
part, the
Do
ghost
you mind
part.
resending it as well?
wait, no.
Oh
hold
wait,
on.
I think I found it. I think I found it.
It says that hardliners already have absolute control over all the levers of power that matter. Supreme leader.
Where is this in the
Al-Khamenei
card?
a
Sorry.
hardliner. Look up, like, it's in the first email that I ever sent in the email chain.
Yeah. So wait. So it's the card that starts with like this outcome, right? At the beginning, or like this
Where it
outcome
says
is
when,
highlighted.
when the results come in from tomorrow's parliamentary elections in Iran.
Click the next button.
Oh wait. Hold on. Wait, sorry.
Wait.
I just don't know where this is.
Okay,
Hold on.
it doesn't matter. We can. Oh wait, actually.
Wait, yeah. Do you mind resending it? Sorry, I just can't find it.
Okay, I'll resend it after. Okay, wait, can we get
Fine.
do you want a question or can we get
I mean, we
another?
have like 5 seconds. Yeah, it's fine.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Do you want me to resend it?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Wait, should I just like forward? I'll just re-forward the email because it's
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that works too. Yeah.
okay.
Oh, I found it.
Oh, okay.
Wait. Did you mind just resending it for me? Because I
Yeah,
just can't find
okay.
it.
Okay, I just like sent it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take our 30.
You have like 15 seconds.
What? Did I miss one? Maybe. Okay. Whatever. We'll just take it then.
Okay. Okay. So it's essentially going to be on your case and then on my case. Okay. So is everyone ready? Is anyone not ready? I mean, okay. Start on their case, even if Iran stops funding the Houthis, they say themselves the Houthis are always going to expand, meaning Saudi Arabia always has to engage in the war. That means that Hosni 15 writes that the US sends military advisors to Saudi Arabia to gather intelligence and identify no strike zones the Saudis should not strike, and Rogan 18 finds that American guidance has helped the Saudis target Houthi formations rather than entire city blocks, meaning you save thousands of civilian lives. You can vote here because everything else is super muddled. Vote here on probability, there's no defense here. But then let's go down to Iran. They drop the ghost card, who finds that right now hardliners already have power over everything, meaning there's no reversal mechanism because A, people are not turning out to the elections, and B, the hardliners are rigging the elections, meaning just because you take like a military presence away does not mean like negotiations happen. But then second, they drop the Salome card, who finds that right now domestic security concerns means that Iran wants to turn outward and start doing aggressive foreign policy to distract from their domestic woes, meaning none of their past empirics matter because now's when the economy is doing bad. Then they say negotiations are happening, and the only reason why they're doing negotiations is because of US pressure. You change the decision calculus when you affirm. But then let's go to our case first on the overview. Realize they still don't respond to the idea that like when we threatened to pull out of Iraq, our nightmare scenario happened in Israel, meaning that they retaliate immediately and there's no time for these actors to fill in. It's going to take like maybe years. Let's go down to Israel. They basically just extend stuff about negotiations. Negotiations do not work if Iran does not want to negotiate. If we win their case, we're winning this too, because like you cannot negotiate if only Israel wants to negotiate. But then realize that their evidence is not Israel specific. Israel specifically is going to retaliate. Let's extend the case. Adesnik 19 writes the troops in Iraq block a land bridge that accelerates weapons shipments, and Kraft 19 finds allowing the land bridge to be built would force Israel to respond militarily. And Iran 20 finds that should the US pull out like war between Israel and Iran would be inevitable. And Course 7 finds it would kill 28 million people, and Hill 20 finds that the war would disrupt oil supply, spiking prices, and bringing a recession. In the Borean Project finds it would kill 900 million, or it would put 900 million people into recession. It's pretty easy weighing here. Their impact is only to like the Middle East and like their proxy conflicts or whatever, but then our impact is to the entire world because you're seeing like a recession affecting literally every single person. But then even on the war impact specifically, our war is going to spread across the Middle East, and US and Iran war, both sides are super strong, but in their world they're only having the impact of proxy wars. Proxy wars inherently are not that strong, which means that like the impacts of deaths are super unclear as well. Only we can also give you a quantifiable impact. Their impact is super nebulous. You don't really know what you're getting when you're voting for them.
Hey, we'll take the last like 15 seconds.
Okay.
Just gonna call and I'll tell you.
Okay. It's going to be our case and their case. Or actually, sorry, it's going to start on their case with their weighing, and then it's going to go their case, then our case. Is everyone ready? Okay. If everyone's ready, we'll start. Or Ananthan, you want to mute? Or
Yeah, I will.
all right. Well, time starts now. Go to their weighing. They first say that they outweigh on scope. No, they drop the response rate and rebuttal that oil prices are very low right now, so the price spike isn't going to do anything. That's terminal defense of the oil thing. Then they say that the war is going to spread across a bunch of people to a US-Iran war. First of all, this is not contextualized at all in any round, but B, we would say that we're winning the time frame debate if that's the case. If it's a US-Iran war or the Israel-Iran war, we are winning the time frame debate because they drop the analysis that nothing gives off the overview, where we say that Iran has to go through a bunch of states in order to get to Israel, in order to make the war inevitable, because the Aeronave evidence only says that Israel is going to get to the war if Iran is right on its border. So Iran has to expand all the way over there. That is really critical, because that means that if we're winning the overview, their weighing does not make any sense at all, and we're winning the time frame debate on the overview. Then on the overview, they just extend that there's no time frame. We say the fill-in is immediate in summary because we say that A, a lot of these actors already have influence right now, so the US withdrawals are already going to have influence. But B, we say that this diversification of security agreements, that's the warranting as to why this is all going to be solved back for. They also have the implications. One, we say stabilize the region because these replacements do not pick sides in regional conflicts the way the US says, and work towards regional cooperation by bridging divides. But secondly, short circuits everything. They don't give a time frame as to when their wars happen, but we say that the fill-in is going to start happening immediately, which means that the conflict and resolution of this scenario is all going to happen immediately. It's an independent place where you can vote for us because we're solving back to the entire case. Then go to the two turns. They dropped them both. First on Lustig, we say that the military aid the U.S. has provided to Israel has emboldened Israeli government to refuse constructive negotiations with the Palestinians and increase tensions with Iran, increasing the chance of war. They say that there's no negotiations. We say it's regional cooperation that's going to happen with multilateral cooperation. That's like the analysis that we give you. The second term that they drop is from Ashford. The U.S. military presence has caused Gulf nations to neglect security concerns because they feel like the U.S. is protecting them. Absent this presence, they'd be forced to cooperate on GCC joint military, and he prefers strengthening regional organizations in the long term because they're more about the situation on the ground and more likely to avoid conflict, which is 3.5 times more likely to very durable peace for 5 years. That solves for every single impact that they read in their case, especially since their internal link on Aranheim is only if Iran expands to their border. Then quickly on our case, they read this independent offense on Houthis. No impact, no way. I would say our threat perception argument is probably better. Barker says that they perceive this as a national security threat. They attack facilities, and Iran only attacks because of systemic insecurity, which creates diplomacy. The only offense in Iran you can build off is overview. And the 2 turns.
All right, good debate, y'all.
You're off.
You're on.
Okay, give me a few minutes.